Repeat is brought to you by Silicon Dust, makers of high-quality digital TV tuners. Stop overpaying for TV. HD Home Run is TV viewing on your terms. Watch what you want, when you want, including HD and protected content all around your home. Time shift or watch live, it's TV your way. Visit www.silicondust.com for more information. In 1942, All-Star Comics number 8 featured a new superhero. Confident, powerful, and beautiful. She's a big household name now, but her trip to the big screen was a long and slow journey. While she officially started in comic books in 1941, the real evolution of her journey began on November 7, 1975, when Lynda Carter donned the jeweled tiara and magic bracelets to become what is now considered the greatest female hero of all time, Wonder Woman. I'm Shane R. Monroe. A press release from the New York offices of All American Comics turned up at newspapers, magazines, and radio stations all over the United States. The identity of Wonder Woman's comic creator had been, at first, kept secret, it said, but the time had come to make a shocking announcement. The author of Wonder Woman is Dr. William Moulton Marston, internationally famous psychologist. Marston, who goes by pen name Charles Moulton, created Wonder Woman as an inspiration driven by his wife Elizabeth and lover Olive Byrne. More on this later. He drew a great deal from early feminists, especially birth control pioneer Margaret Sanger, in particular her piece titled, quote, "Woman and the New Race," unquote. The first attempt at an on-screen Wonder Woman came in the form of 1967 TV pilot entitled Who's Afraid of Diana Prince? Commissioned by the creators of the hugely successful Batman TV series, the pilot mimicked the tongue-in-cheek tone of Batman and was more comedic than dramatic. Wonder Woman / Diana Prince was a shell of her comic book persona and appeared obsessed with her beauty, spending most of the short admiring herself in the mirror. Mockingly, the reflection is a more attractive Wonder Woman, played by Linda Harrison, perhaps alluding to the unjust stereotypes associated with women during the time period. Similarly, Diana's mother mentions being disgraced by the fact that her daughter was unmarried, reflecting the social norms of the time. Thankfully, the series never saw the light of day on television, but if you're willing to dig around a bit on YouTube, you can find it. The first serious attempt at Wonder Woman came several years later in the form of 1974 TV movie Wonder Woman, starring Kathy Lee Crosby. The movie didn't resemble the comic book at all. Wonder Woman was more of a secret agent than a superhero. She was blonde, and when she was in costume, wore a full body outfit. While it was certainly better than the Batman-esque parody, at least a step in the right direction, Crosby's Wonder Woman just didn't take off. Ratings were respectable, but not even close to wondrous. The movie's available on Warner Bros. Burn On Demand DVD service for those that need to own a piece of failed history. If nothing else, it might be worth owning just to see Ricardo Montalban, who also appears in the film. Of the attempt, an ABC spokesperson would later acknowledge that the decision to change the character was a mistake. However, the network showed continued interest in the character and almost immediately put out another pilot into production. Actress Lynda Carter had $25 left in her bank account when she got the call that she had landed the part of Wonder Woman. She beat 2,000 other actresses to the part. Unlike the first attempt, they remained faithful to the comic book character this time, setting the stage during World War II. The 2-hour pilot movie was called The New Original Wonder Woman, named such by the producers to assure people they were doing the comic book version, not another Crosby version. This saw Diana Prince leave Paradise Island and travel to Washington to protect the world from Nazis. Third time was a charm for Wonder Woman. The new pilot premiered to huge ratings. Despite the success, ABC still had cold feet at greenlighting the series. Instead, they ordered 2 more special episodes, which were again tremendously received. These special episodes are Wonder Woman Meets Baroness von Gunther and Fausta, the Nazi Wonder Woman. The show went officially to series, now simply titled Wonder Woman. In the series, Wonder Woman would assume the secret identity of Yeoman First Class Diana Prince, working for the War Department alongside Major Steve Trevor. When the country was under attack, Diana would transform into Wonder Woman and swoop in to save the day. The pilot in season 1 of the show took place during World War II, though the year is never given. Even the newspaper close-up of Steve Trevor's so-called obituary fails to reveal the date. While flying a mission over the Bermuda Triangle, Major Steve Trevor collides with a Nazi plane. Both occupants eject. The pilots get into an airborne gunfight and Trevor is shot. He goes down and lands on Paradise Island, an uncharted secret home to a race of long-living Amazonian women. He is rescued by the inhabitants, one of them being Princess Diana. Her mother, the Queen, doesn't want Trevor to return to the mainland, afraid their precious island will be corrupted and overrun by the affairs of men. She also doesn't like Diana's enchantment with the Major. The Queen decides to put a tournament of games on for the women of the island to choose one to accompany Trevor back. Diana is stricken from the games but sneaks in masked to compete. After winning the final event, Bullets and Bracelets, where the women shoot at each other with guns against magic bracelets, and still masks, she is crowned champion. The Queen bestows upon her a magic belt that will help her retain her Amazonian prowess even away from the island. She is also awarded the Golden Lasso, made out of an indestructible material, and when used, compels people to tell the truth. Princess Diana reveals her identity and the Queen Mother is aghast, but comes to terms with her daughter's deceit. Diana is dressed in the precursor to Wonder Woman costume. The Queen tells her that the colors are chosen to show her allegiance to democracy and freedom. The blue field star pattern skirt can be discarded, she is told, if it is too encumbering. The Queen finally says to her that the invisible plane is ready with Trevor on board. She then tells her that in the world of ordinary mortals, she is a Wonder Woman. They return to Washington and she takes Trevor to the hospital in full Wonder Woman regalia, getting more than her share of looks and smiles from the male orderlies. She foils a bank robbery, showing off multiple superpowers, and her legend begins, starting off as sort of a sideshow act. Watching her deflect hundreds of bullets from a Tommy gun wielded by an old woman, it just doesn't get better than that. Since his previous secretary was attractive, but a spy for the other side, Steve swears off hot secretaries. His boss, General Blankenship, says he found one for him that is, quote, duller than a fat lapdog after dinner, unquote. Princess Diana becomes Diana Prince, a yeoman first class, a perfect cover to keep her close to the action. As Season 1 unfolds, Wonder Woman goes on a series of adventures fighting the Nazis, protecting Trevor, and fighting for the good old red, white, and blue. There are a couple of notable story arcs to mention in this season, though. Having won a tournament of games, Diana's sister Drusilla, played by a very young Deborah Winger, is sent by Queen Mother to retrieve Princess Diana from the land of men. The young Amazonian learns she can also transform into a red, white, and blue goddess, Wonder Girl. Thinking she is Wonder Woman, the Nazis capture her. They're looking to find the secrets of the bullet-reflective bracelets, Feminine. She is tricked into revealing the source and the location of Paradise Island. The Nazis invade, holding the Queen Mother at gunpoint to get the cooperation of the Amazonians. The Nazis also try to create their own Wonder Woman in this season, learning the secrets of her belt and lasso, and putting their own Wonder Fräulein against the real McCoy. Aliens come to pass judgment on Earth. The majority wants the Earth sterilized, but one, Andros, believes in the good of the Earth and sets out to prove it. Using his unearthly powers, he proves his identity to the military, but the Nazis get wind of his power and capture him. The planet is nearly doomed when Andros believes that both sides may not be worthy of saving. Despite being a rating success, ABC was reluctant to renew the series for a second season. The price of producing a period piece like Wonder Woman gave them pause, but in the meantime, Warner Brothers listened to an offer from rival network CBS, who agreed to pick up the series only if the setting was updated to the then-current 1970s. The series was retitled The New Adventures of Wonder Woman. The famous intro was changed a bit, references to the war and Axis were changed, and new elements to suggest the story changed to a more intelligence or spy thriller, but the comic book motif was still present and accounted for. The timeline accelerates to 1977, and in the first 2-hour premiere, we're introduced to a Steve Trevor that looks like he hasn't aged a day. While flying with dignitaries over the Bermuda Triangle, their plane is hijacked in an attempt to capture the officials on board. The plane is going down. Princess Diana has since returned to the peace of Paradise Island. The Islanders have some new tricks, though. They take over the plane and bring it down safely. Diana goes aboard to find any survivors. She happens upon Trevor, who she can't believe hasn't aged in over 30 years. Learning of the threat of global terrorism, Princess Diana volunteers to return to the world and find out just how bad things are. Of course, she is challenged by her cousin for the rights to go, in a contest of bullets and bracelets. The feminine bracelets are now gold instead of silver. The Queen Mother isn't pleased, of course, as usual, but in the end, Diana has her way. Trevor, who has turned out to be the original Trevor's son, is brainwashed to accept Diana Prince as his contemporary. Diana is given back her Wonder Woman costume, her mother calls the Garb of Justice. The tiara got an upgrade, the ability to contact her mother if she needs her. The plane is returned on its way with Wonder Woman following in the invisible plane. It wasn't a jet just yet. Once things calm down, Diana Prince takes her place next to Trevor, a little less frumpy and a little less conservative. To complete the assimilation into the government's Interagency Defense Command, or IADC, Diana inserts herself into the main computer databanks through a supercomputer called IRAC, or Information Retrieval Associative Computer. The new bad guys dig up Wonder Woman from old news clippings and declassified Nazi files. The void of 35 years is closed up, and Wonder Woman is once again a public figure fighting for the American way. Season 2 transformed the show from a set-piece story arc to a much more procedural-style drama, but there's some interesting things to explore in this season all the same. Episode 9, The Man Who Made Volcanoes, featured a brand new intro format. Instead of the intro playing right away, up to several minutes of the show could be played prior to it. This occurred not between a long hiatus between episodes, but rather between November 11, 1977, which was episode 8 of the season, titled I Do, I Do, and the November 18, 1977 airing of episode 9. The intro itself was completely transformed as well. No longer was the comic book featured, it became a full live-action intro. This features Wonder Woman doing, well, Wonder Woman stuff. It is not unusual for TV series to change their intros each season, characters come and go, and sometimes the show changes direction. To do this mid-season, though, is unusual. While my research came up empty as to why they chose to do this, I have a theory that brings to light another interesting, if not a bit outdated, concept of television practice. When everyone was still actually sitting in front of the TV at the same time to watch the same show on the same channel, the famous Nielsen Group came up with a means of helping television stations understand how to better sell and price advertising. 4 times a year, February, May, July, and November, Nielsen sends out paper diaries that people record what they watch. These time periods became very crucial to everyone in the business, since this information helped drive the advertising market. Wanting to ensure the most eyeballs watching their programs during these crucial weeks, writers and producers did almost anything they could to get people watching their shows during these so-called sweeps weeks. Many production companies would save huge cliffhangers or events on the show just to be used as ammunition in the sweep weeks wars. This led to sweep week stunts to grab viewers, and it wasn't just limited to television. Local and national news sources were also known to get in on the sweeps week fun with more feature gotchas, things we now call clickbait, and wild stories announced just before the break. Spider eggs in your bubblegum? Find out more at 11. That sort of thing. These shenanigans rarely continue today, since watching television is no longer a captive audience experience. You can watch almost anything at any time now, breaking the mold on what drives advertising. Those paper diaries, by the way, were still in use as of about 2014. That all being said, this change could have been a sweeps weeks thing, get people talking around the water cooler, or it could have been a preemptive action to get ready the audience for the change after the holiday television stand-down. My final speculation is that they used the old intro with minor changes until they got more episodes of the show in the can. The new intro features footage not yet shown to the viewers. Could be a nice teaser to lock people into the rest of the season. After all, back in those days, a full season wasn't shot then released all at once for marathon viewing. I'll talk more about that when we do a show on the original Battlestar Galactica. Many felt the move on CBS's part to take the television series into 1977 was a mistake. But it wasn't just cost reduction that was gained. These stories could be more relevant to the audience and offered a chance to deal with some interesting topics of the time, like spirit readers, computer espionage, a cloned Hitler, mystical magic users, more aliens, Andros comes back, a hypnotic mind-bending flautist, and a telekinetic Asian man who blames Wonder Woman for the death of his brother in World War II, which is, incidentally, one of my favorite episodes. I love when there are references back to 1940s Wonder Woman in Season 1. Season 2 contained 22 episodes, where Season 1 was a mere 14. CBS continued with Season 3, which started airing on September 22, 1978. The intro once again gets changed around a bit. The theme music takes a far step away from the original ballad and gets a little more jazzy, disco-ish themed. The rover, roving robot, and Ira get some placement into the intro as well. Lyle Wagner loses a couple of seconds of face time too. There are a couple of minor editing issues in the season premiere intro. These would get worse throughout the season. Oddly, they fixed a glitch on the intro of episode 5 where Wonder Woman jumps out of the window at the beginning, but it reverted back on the next episode. This comes and goes throughout the rest of the season. Oddly, the last 4 episodes dropped the pre-intro content in favor of just opening with the introduction video. This final season would continue the IADC theme, putting Diana Prince and Wonder Woman into more situations, including more aliens, a woman that has extreme bad luck, a disembodied brain, a teenage idol abduction, and even a Phantom of the Opera character that haunts a theme park. Wagner had the least amount of screen time this season, being reduced to a sort of Devin Miles of Knight Rider model, simply appearing on the big screen long enough for you to remember he's still there. The show also tried to play to more social arenas, embracing some culture of the day like disco, pesticide poisoning, skateboarding, and more. They pretty much gave up on disguising Diana Prince at this point. Where she was once a dowdy, first-class yeoman with her hair up and glasses firmly on face, she's now a fashionable member of society. Hair down, but usually pulled back, full makeup, and the only glasses she tends to wear are sunglasses. While the ratings for the show weren't horrible the third season, CBS decided to pursue comedic shows and put Wonder Woman on hiatus. The show was never formally canceled, but it also never returned. Of the many that thought moving Wonder Woman out of the 40s was a huge mistake, Steve Trevor himself, Lyle Wagner, said, quote, "If Wonder Woman had been allowed to keep fighting the Nazis, she would have been on for a very long time," unquote. He may be right. The show's ratings were certainly worse when the show moved to the 1970s. The final episode of Season 3 and the series was the second of a two-parter called Phantom of the Roller Coaster, which aired on September 11, 1979. There are really only 3 major characters on Wonder Woman: Diana Prince, Steve Trevor, and the legendary transformation spin which converts Diana Prince into Wonder Woman. Lynda Carter was a relatively unknown before Wonder Woman. Born on July 24, 1951 in Phoenix, Arizona, home of Repeat, by the way, won the title of Miss World USA in 1972, representing her home state, and began her acting career in 1974 in the television series Nakia. Prior to Wonder Woman, her biggest role was that of Bobby Jo Baker in the motion picture Bobby Joe and the Outlaw. It was the only time the actress has appeared nude on film. Wonder Woman came at a good time for Carter. She was nearly broke when she got the call back for the lead in the show, and she had some stiff competition. According to her, the 3 women who would become the original Charlie's Angels, Farrah Fawcett, Jaclyn Smith, and Kate Jackson, all auditioned for the part of Diana Prince Wonder Woman. Despite seeming like an everywoman, Carter had issues with some of her co-stars, including the handsome Lyle Wagner and the up-and-coming Deborah Winger. Tensions between her and Wagner apparently grew to the point that as the series went on, the 2 stars appeared in fewer and fewer scenes together. In recent interviews, she has denied any tension exists, but a January 1979 TV Guide interview titled "The Spotlight is Not Willing to Be Shared" seems to disagree with her. A former associate on the show said, quote, "Wagner took the second banana role because it offered what he felt was a co-starring position. That might have been true at first in the days when Lynda still said please and thank you. Then one day someone told her she was a star and she simply didn't want anyone else in the same scene. She feels Lyle brings the show's energy down. As for him, well, you can't see anything bad about Lyle because the only time he ever becomes angry is when he is ignored. Maybe he's angry now, I don't know, but at least he isn't the one throwing his hairbrush across the stage when he is. unquote. Carter never spoke of the relationships between her and her co-stars during production, but opened up publicly later on. She vehemently denies any tension between herself and the co-star Wagner. She may be right. Wagner's publicist Tom Masters said that because his client's role had been reduced so dramatically, quote, Lyle isn't on the set often enough to form a relationship with Linda, good or bad. They're cordial, and that's it, close quote. Although Deborah Winger made a sizable amount of money for her appearances as Wonder Woman's little sister, she actually spent most of that money buying herself out of her Warner Brothers contract, as she suddenly had second thoughts on continuing to perform her contracted character of Wonder Girl. After Winger was cast, Carter helped her out during the 3 episodes by being a big sister on and off screen. However, Winger was unhappy with the experience and used her salary to hire an attorney to get her out of the contract. She said later that Carter was, quote, a mannequin, unquote, who didn't want to wear the same color eyeshadow as her. Carter, on the other hand, told Larry King that she was surprised by Winger's statements because they got on so well and she was a tremendous actress. She also said that she wasn't hurt, though, since she was in good company. Winger had said that she didn't like working with other actors, including Shirley MacLaine and Richard Gere. As with so many celebrities, Carter wasn't plugged into the Wonder Woman money machine. She was even cut out of the merchandising. She said, quote, I think that you're probably familiar with a problem in Hollywood, and that is that they market you and they use you. They did a mask of my face and put it on the doll, and they put my name on it for the first run of it. Then they took my name off and said they didn't have to pay me anymore. So it's kind of the thing that you can be so much used in the industry. I make nothing. I don't even make anything from the reruns. Don't ever settle for net profits. It's called, quote, creative accounting, unquote. As for her time with Wonder Woman, Carter appears to have enjoyed herself. She said, quote, I tried to play her like a regular woman who just happened to have superpowers. I figured she'd lived with it every day of her life, unquote. She loved doing her own stunts, too. Quote, I really loved doing the stunts. I had a lot of stunt women because they all did something different, but I ended doing most of the fights myself. The stunt guys taught me how to throw a punch, and eventually I became an honorary member of the Stunt Women's Association, unquote. How does she feel about the enduring popularity of the incarnation of Wonder Woman? Quote, I'd like to think I had something to do with it, but it's a phenomenon unto itself. And it's not too bad to be sort of a pop icon, you know? It's not too tough to handle. I think I was much better in the part when it was modernized. The series matured as it went along, unquote, said Carter. Lynda Carter continued her acting career after Wonder Woman. She played a regular in the 1984 television series Partners in Crime, as well as the show Hawkeye, which ran from 1994 to 1995. She was a favorite on made-for-TV movies such as Someone to Love Me and She Woke Up Pregnant, and also performed some great cameos in fan favorites like Super Troopers. She'll be in Super Troopers 2 also, by the way, Dukes of Hazzard, and Disney's Sky High, her only appearance with the Mouse House. The majority of her work came from Warner Brothers. Did you know she lent her voice to female Nords in the Elder Scrolls video games? She appeared in 3 and 4, but expanded her role with 5 and Elder Scrolls Online with the playing of the character Azura. More recently, she has appeared several times on the television series Supergirl as President Olivia Marston. She's also involved with many charitable causes, including the Susan G. Komen Foundation for Breast Cancer Research and Education. Carter has also been involved with the Red Cross, USO, Ronald McDonald House, and many others benefiting children. The part of Steve Trevor was performed by Lyle Wagner, who was no stranger to television and film. Wagner screen tested for the role of Bruce Wayne Batman for the 1966 version of Batman, but ultimately lost it to Adam West. Even though he didn't get the part, Wagner was noticed by Charles Fitzsimmons, who was associate producer on Batman. So impressed was Fitzsimmons with Wagner that he recommended him to others, out of which sprang the part on The Carol Burnett Show. Fitzsimmons went on to become producer of The New Adventures of Wonder Woman and was instrumental in hiring Wagner for the part of Steve Trevor. He's a marvelous, talented man, says Fitzsimmons, who is always on time, does his work well, and gets along with everybody. I see a great future for him in romantic comedy. Once he gets the right kind of break, he'll have a series of his own, unquote. Moving along, Wagner did just fine and has been in over a dozen shows and movies, including Lost in Space and Marcus Welby, MD, prior to Wonder Woman. His breakout success could be directly pointed at his role on The Carol Burnett Show, a sketch comedy show that ran from 1967 to 1974. He decided that his role as an announcer and regular was too limiting. Quote, "I was a convenience," he said, "and not an actor. I wanted to act," close quote. The fact that millions of viewers saw him each week was impressive, but even more compelling was a desire to move on and up, so he left the show. During this period, he posed for Playgirl's centerfold in June of 1973, which he'd rather not remember. He said, quote, "At least it was during their early days when they didn't show everything. There was a certain amount of modesty," unquote. His role of Hollywood sex symbol was assured. Wonder Woman writer Stanley Ralph Ross, an acquaintance of Wagner's, wrote Steve Trevor with him specifically in mind. Quote, "He called and told me so," recalls Wagner. "He said, 'This is the perfect Lyle Wagner part,'" unquote. On Wagner, Ross was quoted as saying, "I liked Lyle right away. He was a guy who could make fun of himself, who never took himself too seriously, and on television, that's rare. He could play the part of Steve Trevor with a twinkle in his eyes," unquote. Ross was so impressed that, as he was describing the part of Trevor in the script, he wrote that the character was, quote, "was just of jaw and strong of men, a Lyle Wagner type. Better yet, get Lyle Wagner," unquote. They did, to Ross's amazement. It's the only actor he ever recommended who actually got the job. Quote, "It's a fun role," says Wagner. "There's no big message, no symbolism. Sure, it's a cartoon, but everything on television is a cartoon because it's escapism. Wonder Woman just happened to be in the comics," unquote. Wagner played his part tongue-in-cheek, somewhere between farce and reality. Wagner said, quote, "I can't get too campy because that's farce, and how realistic can you get with a gal that picks up 10-ton boulders? It's hard sometimes not cracking up. The situations get so bizarre," unquote. With regard to the vanishing role on the show, Wagner limited himself to a slight smile and said, quote, "I may have become the highest paid actor per word on television," unquote. He didn't like the idea that he was once more a convenience and would rather have had a bigger role on Wonder Woman, or better yet, his own series that would combine humor and adventure. Wagner considered Wonder Woman a stepping stone to something better. Quote, "But then," he shrugs, "I don't knock what I'm doing. It's an on-the-air show and I'm a working actor. There aren't all that many around. When you take a role, you accept the territory. Meanwhile, I'll hang in there and do my best. They'll remember me someday for my professionalism," unquote. In 1979, Wagner hedged his bets and started a company, Star Wagons, with 2 G's, by the way, the largest supplier of studio location rental trailers in the entertainment industry. Along with his only wife of over 50 years, Sharon Kennedy, and his 2 sons, Lyle has been running Star Wagons ever since. Wagner officially retired from acting in 2005. As for the final character of the show, Wonder Woman's transformation, there's an interesting history to be had here. Before the 1975 version, Wonder Woman's alter ego would simply walk out one door and come back as Wonder Woman. There was no transformation involved. Carter said, quote, "I invented Wonder Woman's spin. In the comic book, Diana Prince just left and came back as Wonder Woman, but for the show they couldn't figure out how I would make the change. I was a dancer, so I said, I can do a pirouette or a spin. They put the explosion later on," unquote. At the beginning of Season 1, Diana Prince would slowly spin with a dissolved transform to Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman would be holding whatever clothing Diana Prince had just been wearing before. There was never a transformation back to Diana. When her sister Drusilla came from Paradise Island to bring her home, she had broken into Prince's apartment. Sensing danger, Diana transformed into Wonder Woman. After chatting with her sister, Wonder Woman tells her that her disguise as Prince was important to her efforts to help the United States. The camera turned away, and when it came back, she was in full Diana Prince uniform. The dissolved transform was expensive and slow to produce, so they had to come up with something else. For the new and iconic transformation, Diana Prince would spin quickly and a growing ball of light would cover her, complete with a thunderclap at the apex of the transformation. For a while, the transformation included Wonder Woman with her arms up over her head, but this didn't last long. Most transformations included a quick check of her costume, her tiara, and her magic lasso when it was complete. It first occurred in Episode 4 of Season 1 titled Beauty on Parade, and it happens at the 26-minute mark. Over time, the transformation underwent several small changes. The music behind the change, the coverage of light over the transform. In future episodes, the transformation spin would also include a secondary spin to put Wonder Woman into a suitable outfit for whatever the needs of the show required. She had a dress uniform costume, complete with a bicentennial cape. She also had a swimming outfit, a skateboarder's outfit, and a motocross outfit. As time went on, the show used cue music or other musical transitions leading up to the transformation, adding sort of a dramatic flair to it. These were always my favorite. On a side note, the camera would almost always be set up in a certain way when focused on the main area in which Diana Prince transformed, and passionate watchers could tell solely based on the camera makeup that Wonder Woman would be on the scene soon. To me, the transformation of alter egos to superheroes is an important factor in any show or film. In modern media, superheroes rarely even have secret lives. They are simply superheroes all the time. If they do have an alter ego, it is largely ignored. Transformation time lends to the vulnerability of the alter ego. As Wonder Woman, Diana Prince is pretty much immortal. The moment of danger until she can transform adds tension and allows the bad guys to get a drop on her. David Banner, Billy Batson, even Tony Stark requires some sort of transformation to exit the realm of humans. There were many times that Diana Prince did not initiate the spinning action herself to transform, or it was handled in a non-standard way. In Season 2, she's tied up to a pole and uses the rope to help her spin. In Pied Piper, she's strapped to a spinning chair, which shows us that it isn't just the spin that does it, but something that Diana Prince has to initiate as well. Another one, Diana is tied up and rolling down a hill, and she transforms. In Season 3, we have a cool mid-air transform as she's falling from a building and she forces herself to spin. She's rolled on the ocean floor in a container, transforming into the swimsuit Wonder Woman. Speaking of the ocean, she's shot out of a torpedo tube from a submarine and transforms into the same waterborne outfit. For one, she's in super close quarters and she has to do a scrunched transform. Once in a while, we would only see the light and hear the thunderclap when Diana Prince was inside of a shipping crate or otherwise obscured. Let's do the count, shall we? Season 1 had a total of 26 transformations. Season 2 had a whopping 65 transformations, which included one dress uniform, one motorcyclist uniform, and 2 swimming suit transformations. Season 3 took second place with 56 total transformations featuring 2 dress uniforms, 3 cyclist uniforms, 4 swimming suits, and 1 skateboarder outfit. For those not keeping track of the math, Lynda Carter changed into Wonder Woman a total of 147 times during the run of the show. Special thanks to YouTuber Oslolino, who isolated all the transformations from each season. I still had to count them though. Do a search on YouTube for Wonder Woman Transforms Seasons 1, 2, or 3 to get the goods. As always with the shows we cover on repeat, there are interesting production notes and behind-the-scenes happenings we want to tell you about. Wonder Woman has its share of goodies too. Let's start with the origins of Wonder Woman. Earlier I mentioned Dr. William Moulton Marston, internationally famous psychologist, as the origins of the character. If there's ever a time when an author's personal life exudes into his work, it's William Marston. We'll call him by his pen name, Charles Moulton. Moulton was an attorney and psychiatrist who was working for DC Comics, helping them transition comics from wartime to peacetime stories. DC Comics' Charlie Gaines joked with Moulton and told him he should take a crack at writing a comic. Charles took the idea home to his wife, Elizabeth, and she said he should do it. But make it a woman, she said. The world has enough male superheroes. The fruits of his labor was Wonder Woman, penned as Charles Moulton. He used his psychologist background along with his wife's knowledge of ancient Greece and figured out what it would take to make a female power character like Wonder Woman tick. It made for an interesting and somewhat bizarre comic book. In 1943, he wrote, quote, "Not even girls want to be girls so long as our feminine archetype lacks force, strength, and power. Not wanting to be girls, they don't want to be tender, submissive, peace-loving as good women are. Women's strong qualities have become despised because of their weakness. The obvious remedy is to create a feminine character with all the strength of Superman, plus all of the allure of a good and beautiful woman," unquote. Remember Wonder Woman's magic lasso? The one that makes people tell the truth? It makes even more sense when you realize that Multan was responsible for the systolic blood pressure test, a main component in, you guessed it, polygraph or lie detector test. What about the bracelets of Feminine? Where might those have come from? Why, they were eerily similar to jewelry worn by Multan's live-in lover, Olive Byrne. That's right, Charles brought one of his students home and she became his mistress, and presumably his wife's too, although their descendants say otherwise. The three lived together for quite some time, and even when he died in 1947, the two women continued to live together until Olive's death in 1990. Elizabeth died in 1993. Between the two women, Multan had 4 children. His wife would go out and work, while Byrne would stay home and take care of the kids. Both women were extreme feminists, and while their private lives remained just that, private, there was much discussion about the life that Multan, his wife, and his mistress were leading, and how much of it was bleeding into the comics in the form of bondage, submission, and what Multan's ideal concept of a, quote, love leader, unquote, would be. It's an incredible tale, much too large to be told on a single podcast. However, a film called Professor Marston and the Wonder Women hits theaters October of this year and should be available on home video soon. By the way, Lynda Carter became very good friends with the family of Charles Multan. In 1954, a psychiatrist named Frederick Wertham published a book called Seduction of the Innocent and testified before a Senate subcommittee investigating comics. Wertham believed that comics were corrupting American kids and turning them into juvenile delinquents. He attacked Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman specifically. He was quoted as saying, quote, "The Batman type of story may stimulate children to homosexual fantasies. The lesbian counterpart of Batman may be found in the stories of Wonder Woman," unquote. He especially disliked Wonder Woman. Comic board advisor Dr. Loretta Bender had written that Wonder Woman comics display, quote, "a strikingly advanced concept of femininity and masculinity," quote, and that the women in these stories are placed on an equal footing with men and indulge in the same type of activities, unquote. Wertham found the feminism in Wonder Woman repulsive. Quote, "As to the advanced femininity, what are the activities in comic books which women indulge in an equal footing with men? They do not work, they are not homemakers, they do not bring up a family. Mother love is entirely absent. Even when Wonder Woman adopts a girl, there are lesbian overtones," unquote, Wertham had said. At the Senate hearings, Bender testified too. "If anything in American pop culture was bad for girls," she said, "it wasn't Wonder Woman, it was Walt Disney." Quote, "The mothers are always killed or sent to insane asylums in Walt Disney movies," unquote, she said. This argument fell on deaf ears. If you find the topic interesting, I recommend the book The History of Wonder Woman by Jill Lepore. Lynda Carter took her representation of Wonder Woman very seriously both on and off screen. During the second season, for the episode Anschluss 77, the script called for Wonder Woman to grab onto a bar under a helicopter and hold onto it as the helicopter lifted 50 feet in the air. Lynda's stunt double shot the scene, but the camera was so close it was more than obvious that it wasn't Lynda. Lynda felt she could perform the stunt on her own and told her stunt double to let her go instead. She filmed the scene herself, which angered the unaware producers of the series, as Carter not only didn't inform anyone ahead of time, but she did not use the protective wrist guards, which could have helped her hold onto the helicopter should she not have the strength to do so. This shot appears in most of the intros for the show. Speaking of Carter's stunt double, Jeannie Epper, her son told his classmates that his mother performed on the Wonder Woman television series. They did not believe him, even after showing them a photo of his mother in costume. When Carter was told of the situation, she took it upon herself to invite his entire class to the Wonder Woman set, see Jeannie perform. Did you know that all the women that played the Queen Mother were Oscar nominees? Cloris Leachman, Carolyn Jones, and Beatrice Straight. Wonder Woman's executive producer Douglas S. Kramer was really the responsible party who initially retooled Wonder Woman to match Multan's classic image. According to Kramer, the key to Wonder Woman's success was fourfold, starting with the ugly duckling into a swan transformation. Quote, "There really was the sense that this plain, ordinary woman, Diana Prince, could turn into someone special like Wonder Woman. This aspect, which gave hope to many who were without hope, was really at the heart of the show's appeal, unquote. Next, there was the non-lethal content. Quote, virtually no one was ever killed in this show, Kramer says. People would get tossed and even shot at, but no one would ever die. They would always bounce right back, unquote. Another component was the mythical Wonderland aspect. Quote, Wonder Woman's heritage, her coming from another place, Paradise Island, was equal to the Superman mythical extraterrestrial origins. That concept has always appealed to people, unquote. Finally, and most importantly, there was the women's liberation element. Quote, we have to remember that the series appeared just as women in our country were really beginning to voice their emancipation. In many ways, Wonder Woman was a sign of the times, unquote. Did you know that Linda Carter controlled the flashes flying from her bullet-deflecting bracelets herself? She was holding a remote control device in her clasped hands and activated the flashes at the appropriate time. The Superloop roller coaster shown in the series' final episode, The Phantom of the Roller Coaster, is actually called The Revolution, which debuted in 1976 at California amusement park Magic Mountain. The amusement park would be later owned by Warner Brothers. The park was eventually incorporated into the Six Flags Company and sold to Premier Parks. That roller coaster also appears in the 1977 thriller Roller Coaster, the 1978 cult film Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park, and it was the whippersnapper in the 1983 National Lampoon film Vacation. Nevertheless, the comic book area of the park remains based on Warner's DC Comics. Rare Wonder Woman merchandise continues to be sold in the Magic Mountain stores. There was a failed attempt to reboot Wonder Woman on television. In 2011, a pilot was shot featuring Adrienne Palicki, now on the Oroville, as the Amazonian princess. Trevor was played by Justin Bruring of the failed Knight Rider reboot. Extremely negative test screenings caused NBC to forego even airing the pilot. A screener and bits of the reboot flooded the internet, so if you're interested in checking it out, head to YouTube. Columbia House with Warner Home Video released the series on VHS videotapes through their Wonder Woman The Collector's Edition series from the late 1990s to early 2000s, which was only available through mail-order subscriptions. Each volume contained 2 episodes. The Season 2 episodes The Pied Piper and Flight to Oblivion, however, were not included on the VHS releases, presumably for musical copyright reasons. It was unheard of at the time for a television series to be released like this, another feather in the cap of Wonder Woman. The entire run of the show is available on DVD and home video. Recently, all 60 episodes have been remastered in 16:9 HD widescreen, however they are only available digitally and not on Blu-ray. I checked out all the remasters and they are pretty good, it's just a shame they won't be available in physical form. You can view these HD episodes on iTunes or Amazon Video. Sadly, they are not part of Amazon Prime's membership. The 80s were alive with memorable television theme songs. In previous episodes of Repeat, we've discussed the importance of good theme music, and we've heard some of the best, including Knight Rider and The Incredible Hulk. Wonder Woman's iconic theme is worthy of the Repeat dissection. The theme for Wonder Woman was created by the immortal composer Charles Fox. Whether you know it or not, you've heard his work. The Wonder Woman theme lyrics were penned by Norman Gimbel, and as a duo, these men have made their music embedded deep into your brain. Fox said in an interview that he always thinks about theme songs as a gateway to the record. He treats them as songs, not just simple jingles. Many of his songs ended up becoming pop hits as well as television themes. The song for Happy Days, performed by Pratt and McClain, reached number 5 on the pop charts. Its spin-off show, Laverne and Shirley, made it to number 25 on Billboard's Hot 100. Let's take recording and producing. If you enjoy this body of work, consider contributing to the show on Patreon, a service that provides digital artists a means to be compensated for their creativity. Visit www.patreon.com/repeat for more information. I'm Shane Armonroe. Thank you for listening to Repeat. And producing. If you enjoy this body of work, consider contributing to the show on Patreon, a service that provides digital artists a means to be compensated for their creativity. Visit www.patreon.com/repeat for more information. I'm Shane R. Monroe. Thank you for listening to Repeat. And producing. If you enjoy this body of work, consider contributing to the show on Patreon, a service that provides digital artists a means to be compensated for their creativity. Visit www.patreon.com/repeat for more information. I'm Shane R. Monroe. Thank you for listening to Repeat.